In this video, we're going to look at Canadian Bitcoin exchange traded funds. Three topics. First is, why would I even buy an ETF? Why not buy Bitcoin the old-fashioned way? The second is, what are the Bitcoin trusts and ETFs that have come to light? What's the history? And third is, who approved these ETFs? So let's get started. So the first topic, why would I even buy an ETF? The first reason I'd look at these ETFs is for tax purposes. In Canada, these ETFs are tax exempt or tax deferred capable. So you can place them in a tax-free savings account or a registered retirement savings plan to defer taxes. So that's one reason you'd look at ETFs as opposed to buying Bitcoin the old-fashioned way. The second reason is it's simple. It's just like buying a stock through your brokerage account. You can buy these ETFs as long as you can connect to this exchange where all of these ETFs we'll talk about today live. The third is that you don't need a wallet. A wallet is something for people who've been around and know what they're doing with the cryptocurrency community. You need to first get your funds to a cryptocurrency exchange. Then once they're there, buy the Bitcoin, and then probably take the Bitcoin back and place it in a hot or cold wallet. All of these transfers involve fees. And here you thought you were going to get away from fees. Well, there are fees in the cryptocurrency world. When you move your Bitcoin back to your hot or cold wallet, you now are in charge of this asset. You are self-custodying the Bitcoin. That private key, if you lose it, you've lost your Bitcoin. For some people, this is a bit risky. This is a reason to look at an ETF if you're not comfortable managing your own private keys. Another reason to look at these ETFs is that, well, if you're already comfortable with your broker in the way that they manage and store your stocks, your ETF is really in the same boat. And so you can be comfortable that they are taking care of your Bitcoin ETF. Lastly, we should mention all of the ETFs we're going to look at today, according to their prospectus, are physically settled. So they are supposed to be buying Bitcoin with all the money that you give them, and parts of their assets are to be kept in cold storage. We'll talk about that later. All right, let's get to the main part of this video, the history of all these ETFs. The first one that came on the scene, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, not an ETF, it's a trust, so it has different rules. Came on the scene September 25th, 2013. And if you look at the last column there, the premium ranged from -12, which is recently, all the way to 132%. People were paying double, more than double, for their Grayscale units. Now, that's pretty crazy. Again, it's because Grayscale's price is related to supply and demand and other factors. It doesn't exactly correlate to the price of Bitcoin. Let's take a look at the net asset value chart going back. And by the way, the Bitcoin per share is that fraction that you see there. That's how much each share is worth at the end of the day. That's what they're trying to aim for. Even as recently as the end of last year, the premium was 40%, so varies wildly. A lot of people are looking at this now because it's actually at a discount, and they might try to flip it and sell it to others when the premium's higher. That's a whole different game if you want to get into that. Let's move on to our next item from 3IQ. This fund, it's an investment fund, came on the scene October 20th of last year, and it has a fixed management fee, 1.95%. So now you know what you're getting into. Notice the number of BTC per unit. There is no standard. Now we reach the first Bitcoin ETF in the world, and it's Canadian, from Purpose Investments. So this ETF hit the scene February 18th, just recently, and they lowered their management fee is 1%. That is the rate that you would be charged every year from Purpose Investments. So let's keep going. So that was February 18th. The next item that we have is another ETF, got approved the very next day. So we have Evolve ETFs, and their ETF was approved February 19th. And that Evolve Bitcoin ETF is charging you a rate of 0.75%, 0.75%. So you see a pattern here. The management fee is going down, down, down as we go. So that's pretty good. So now these are official ETFs. We now have two, and the third one that we're going to see coming up now, approved in Canada as an ETF from CI Global Asset Management. It's an ETF created in conjunction with Galaxy. They came on the scene just recently, March 9th, and notice the management fee, now down to 0.4. Nice trend. Everybody's coming up with a lower management fee to gain customers. All of these ETFs, you'll notice, have a different number of BTC per share. I wonder if that's to make it harder to compare them with each other. And again, being involved with Galaxy, that's their CEO, Michael Novogratz. He's been a Bitcoin bull for quite a while, long before others such as Michael Saylor, who you might have heard of recently from MicroStrategy. All of the 5 investment vehicles we've looked at today are available on the Toronto Stock Exchange, TSX. So if your brokerage account can connect to the TSX, you can purchase any one of these. Let's take a quick look at them. If we look at the first one, GBTC, it's the only one that's available just solely in US funds. All of the others are available in Canadian and US denominated versions. So that is good, depending on where you are in the world. You'll notice that the GBTC, the status, because it's a trust, at some point in time in its history, it has been closed. You can't purchase. It is open right now. QBTC, the Bitcoin fund, currently is closed, again, because it is not an ETF. All the rest, the final 3, which are the official ETFs, are always open because they don't have a limit. They can always produce more units or shares, and so you don't have to worry about those. So who approved these 3 ETFs? Was it the Securities and Exchange Commission? No, it was not. It was another commission. It was the OSC instead of the SEC, the Ontario Securities Commission. They approved these 3 ETFs. You may be wondering, where is Ontario? Well, it's not the Ontario here in California between Los Angeles and San Bernardino, which you might have heard from a Bugs Bunny cartoon when he gets lost from not turning left at Albuquerque. He passes by San Bernardino and Cucamonga. It is not that Ontario, and it's not the Ontario north of Corona. Anyway, we're getting off track. The Ontario we're talking about is the Ontario province of Canada. That is the Ontario Commission that has approved these 3 ETFs. Speaking of cold storage is something we need to talk about. For safety of your assets, again, all of these ETFs are supposed to put some percentage of the Bitcoin in cold storage. Again, when they do that, though, we want to know, well, who is the custodian? Who is the entity actually storing these items in cold storage? And is anything insured by the fund itself and or the custodian? These are important things to think about when you're looking to pick which ETF do I really want to invest in. Another thing to think about when deciding which ETF to use is how well does it track to the price of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes up by 1%, what if the ETF only went up by half of 1%? If Bitcoin goes down by 1%, what if this ETF goes down by 3%? So this is another factor to think about. Again, do your own research. This is not financial advice before you decide which ETF is right for you. It's not always as simple as which one has lowest management fee, even though that is a pretty big criteria. So what did we look at today? First, we looked at why get an ETF as opposed to just buying Bitcoin the old-fashioned way, and the main reason was for tax purposes. Second is you need to be aware of the different management fees or management expense ratios when looking at these ETFs. The trend is good. They seem to be going down, the newer ETFs. Third thing is safety. It's not only the management fee we should be looking at, who has the better cold storage and more insurance, just in case things happen to the assets. Also, who tracks to Bitcoin, as it goes up or down more accurately. So these are the main points to consider when looking at an ETF in your jurisdiction. If you have any points of information that can help others in making their decisions, feel free to comment down below. It's great for us to help each other in deciding which ETF is right in our different jurisdictions. Shameless plug, if you're interested in this t-shirt, I'll leave the link below, and there are also other more cryptocurrency related t-shirts at that site. Is Handman saying, see you in the next video.